All right, here we go with part two. Had to move it indoors. Couldn't see the timer outside with the sunlight and whatnot, so it was getting very confusing. Anyway, here we go with No Gods to Guide, No Herds to Follow, Bob Kaufman's Street Bop Zen. We're starting on page, we went 1 to 6 in the first part, and now we're going from page 6 to 15. Bottom of page 6 to bottom of page 15. Here we go. This time we're going to nail it. The Ginsberg-Kaufman Pact. Kaufman was the all-recognized king of the beats. He knew that his time was coming to take a temporary leave of absence. Throughout the 60s, while Bob was into his silence and speaking tongues, Ginsberg was out doing it to the world, with massive collective consciousness recitations of pure truth and exposed military facts of de facto destruction, and helped raise the consciousness of the mind's eye to be aware of who controlled the TV eye and the images that were force-fed into your consciousness on military hallucinations of Cold War. Poetry chanting alternative of mantra, Om, Om. Gatherings of lusty post-war infants growing too fast. Ginsberg's social work reached in a mass level of dealings with all sentient beings, concentrated mantras to uplift and spiritually escalate the journey through the 7 chakras, and provided a vehicle for thousands to emulate and learn clean karma dharma and point the way a lighthouse beckons, signaled stranded ships and saved them from crashing to the rocks. The passage of the scroll. The race is on. The first sprinter passes his baton to the second runner. The first messages were sent via scroll into the hands of the first sprinter. The first sprinter had gained as much ground as he could possibly cover. No longer able to continue the race, he passes on the message to the second runner. The first sprinter is Kaufman, and Allen Ginsberg took the baton to finish the first leg of the race and let Kaufman go out and woodshed or practice his art in seclusion and take it easy for a few years. So in the following memento, Allen Ginsberg tells all how this took place. 1960, Lower East Side, a neat 4-room apartment, 170 East 2nd Street. I had completed Kaddish and probably didn't have it typed. Coach T. Leary, as Kerouac labeled him, was visiting from Divinity Street in Cambridge. Bob Kaufman was in New York, was living upstairs or nearby. Orlovsky was home and Bob in the house when Kerouac came to spend the afternoon and try Leary's psilocybin pills. For the first time, such a sensible way of testing its effects on poets in situ. So I remember being upset that Bob was there. I didn't know him so well. His surreal style poetry, yes, especially much appreciated by Simon Watson Taylor, translator of Jerry and other pataphysicians who had a subtle sense of Kaufman's French stylistics. We worked together, was it 1959 on Beatitude magazine. We had in common. He edited some of Peter's best early poetry. Bob celebrated toe crucifixion in the hands of Officer Biglioroni, the cop that hassled Bob to death, bagel shop beatnik persecutions with Kaufman in jail, an early martyr for nothing but poetry and misunderstandings. I couldn't figure out how he got into all this trouble. Me, I didn't hang around but stayed away in Europe a few years earlier. Still, we were all there in room and eternity together, 1960, Kaufman looking out on East 2nd Street. I think I'll take a shit out the window. Walking on water wasn't built in a day. Bob, in throes of mushroom consciousness, marooned in my company, brown face, smooth skinned, and handsome and scared or elevated. We were all lounging around. I never really got over my nervousness being host to this scene. Probably didn't take much pills myself, just a little to be there, to be host and keep the apartment running. Bob and I and Peter seated on a bed in the middle of the room with windows facing south onto the street. Bob looks at me, anguished, tender, trusting, honest, tears in his eyes, and he says, "I love you." And he puts his arms around me. He holds me close, and I'm amazed. Then I thought I heard him say, "I'm depending on you. You're a soul captain. Show the way. What's the way? Courage. Where's the way? I'm lost. You know the road. I'm trusting on you." Unquote. Well, that couldn't have been what he said, but that was the message I thought I got. And he kissed me, and I felt like a fink because I hadn't known that he was such an innocent. Interviewer, that's me. The thing that was getting me about this was how he was just saying, "You're a soul captain. You know, show the way. What's the way? Courage. Where's the way? I'm lost. You know the road. I'm trusting on you." It seems to me that he was passing on to Ginsberg. Kesey goes, "That's exactly what it sounds like." Me, well, it's kind of like he knew that he was going to. Kesey, fade out. You take it for a while because I'm tired. That's far out, especially on psilocybin. Ginsberg had talked about that. He said he hadn't been able to lead the full poet's life that he would have liked to have made because he did a lot of social work. And Ginsberg had worked his ass off talking to thousands of people. He relinquished a little bit of privacy that poets need for it, and I think that he has been, as far as that case goes, more than that. For example, and the example that a lot of people followed, he stood up there. Ginsberg stood up there in front of a lot of people, and he did lead the way. Interviewer, yeah, now everything's coming back. It's getting interesting. Kesey, yeah, well, I think it does pass around. It's like a baton. Interviewer, well, what is it that passes? What would you call it? Kesey, well, it's not enlightenment. It's like, you know, when you crap out and pass the dice on to a guy and then see how many passes that guy can make before he passes the dice on. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It means that this is what it seems that Ginsberg and you're both talking about. Kaufman says to him, like, "You run it for a while. I'm on a woodshed." But I think that this was meant in more psychic and physical terms. He says, "You take it. Let me rest to get myself strong again." Letter to the editor. Responses to the chapter of the 12-Year Silence. Dear editor, this is from Gregory Corso. I didn't know Bob K. vowed a 12-year silence. I figured he just didn't want to talk to people, they being so untrustworthy and all, and they saying of him that his brains were fried, which I knew was horse shit. Poets have funny ways, and Bob had his going, and I knew a blessing that he be talking again. But did he write all those silent years? I pray he did, because fucking war ain't worth no silence of holy verse. Me, I'm a little like Bob in that I wrote much, but I published little. Not because of war, but because I sold all of my manuscripts for dollars to buy CIA dope. Dopey fuck me. Still, the poems are in colleges and I can always get to them. So again I say, blessed be the mouthy emanations that flow from his black Jew heart. A heart that saw double since a mouth closed gives extra space to the eye brain. Tell him to visit me when he comes to Paris. Can't say any more since he was to me in the 50s as he was in the 70s. Yours respectfully, Gregory Corso. And interviewer's note. Now, along with receiving the above letter from Gregory Corso, we also received the following letter from Bob Kaufman himself in response to our tribute and honor we thought he so rightly deserved. Uncall my name. Tear up my eyes. I refuse to appear. Those things done in compassion and total disregard. Those things done by people I didn't know and people who knew me. Everything I planned came as a complete surprise. There were no intermissions, so I walked out before the end. They say my life is exciting, but I don't believe them. Sincerely, Bob Kaufman, poet. Bob Kaufman is a little-known beat poet who avoided seeking publicity in America. A prophet is never known in his own country. In regards to this, his wife, Eileen Kaufman, confides, let's get a little more light in here. His wife, Eileen Kaufman, confides that a prophet is never known in his own country. She says that they call him the America Rimbaud in France. He's one of the French poets. He's probably the most important French poet since Charles Baudelaire that ever existed. He has the fire of Lorca, the symbolism of Baudelaire, or Rimbaud, and he has the Spanish, what the Spanish call duende, which is a total dark soul. Now, Bob Kaufman is an unpublished driving force among a group of internationally known writers. These writers, these writers include, I hope it's still going. Yes, we're still going. We just fell. These writers include, we'll pick it up where we left off. These writers include Ginsberg, Jack Kerouac, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, William Burroughs, and Gregory Corso. All of these writers had rejected all the established traditions of literary writing, which regulated the natural flow of spontaneous verse. The expulsion of this verse was a direct result of manifestation of the freedom they all experienced in their day-to-day lives, transcending the claustrophobic early retirement plans of walking corpse, non-feeling businessmen who parade in suits and ties, which act as a hangman's noose and galloping rein used to subdue the obvious latent wild spirit of the average Mr. Jones, who went passively licking the honey-coated ass of his boss in the form of paid slavery in the guise of public servitude, individually devouring each other, scurrying like blind mice, drowning in public cesspools, grasping at straws for support, playing perpetual leapfrog, climbing the commencement exercises, societal Jacob ladder of success, to finally rest in corporate graveyards at commencement exercises where they give you a gold watch and bury you with a Social Security. Yeah, Bob Kaufman poetically laughs at those quote-unquote, Bob says, bag-eyed, hawk-eyed, baggy-pant businessmen building earthquake-proof aluminum whorehouses, guaranteeing satisfaction to pinstripe murderers or your money back to West Heaven. Full of glorious Caesarean section politicians giving kisses to round, half-lipped babies, unquote. Politicians and businessmen who had reached the point predicted in Brave New World, where the totalitarian state's Minister of Information disseminates news in the following manner. Any information the state wished to disclaim it simply rewrites the history books or the blues papers of the empire to conform to the state's current plans. As testified at Senate hearings or heroin smuggling rings, we put the memo in the burning hole, thus all previous memos disregarded and found with 18-minute gaps. Yeah, it's true. They are trying to rearrange our history all over the place. Stop secret documents. Discovered after reports of delirious White House computer trained to spout poetry had accidentally tapped top-secret Pentagon memory bank files uncovered by some hip archaeologist who was taking top-secret Navy drugs ingested in the nation's Sanka supply, discovered in a vacant church in the Haiti circa 1975, containing the alleged writings of a self-ordained pre-Christian junkie labeled Henry Kissinger's long-range plan for weird world peace. Washington, D.C. Oops, sorry, folks, we were wrong. In the days of Kennedy, it wasn't really a time of Camelot as we projected on your daily screens in National Enquirer. And yeah, it was backroom mafia meetings and matings. And no, your good Jack didn't go for the Godfather's deal. And yes, the Godfather was part of the plot along with Mission Impossible to let you know that we were taking over. And yes, we killed Allende and Castro's image and Che's memory and Ho Chi Minh and Lincoln and Taft and the Teapot Dome and Lumumba and Kennedy and King's mother. And we gave 3 Hershey bars. 3 Hershey bars. 3 Hershey bars. We're stuck on 3 Hershey bars to some pygmies. Raw javelins, Hershey bars to migrant pygmies to throw carnival shooting gallery raw javelin spheres via rapid transit poison darts at George Jackson and cyanide-coated Howard Hunt's tomato paste. Kept a few miles stuffed and bloating and gargoyle imitations of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, doing imitations of Lenny Bruce, doing imitations of Jimi Hendrix, doing imitations of Jimmy Hoffa, doing imitations of Capone's dream of what he would have done to Elliot Ness. And yes, we were not lone assassins, killing so many men with our One bullet fired by the bazooka aimed apples of Lynette Fromm, and Richard Nixon was named Best Supporting Actor at ceremonies in Sacramento last Wednesday at the Cow Palace hosted by Ronald Reagan and Mickey Mouse. And yes, Nixon sacrificed his name and family for the family name in a faithless imitation of a Sonny Liston dive. And yes, the plan is to have a CIA Butterfield make a perfectly timed slip and slide and mention tape systems on Senate hearings, Nixon to panic on the hotline to Russia, tapes to be made public. Tapes are all over everywhere, stored in boxcars in Pennsylvania Avenue 600. All tapes are to be made government property after public anger is directed towards Citizen Nixon's tape conversations and all their alleged mentioning of crimes, and cries grow for his imprisonment, and everyone will scream for the law and order that Nixon cried for and achieved through double whammy, mammy, yokum, reverse psychology. And yes, Congress and the White House do not function, only existing as part of the National Repertory Theater funded by the CIA as part of a whole and brilliant Teutonic plot to distract international attention from the true unrulers who live in Peoria, Illinois, and Angkor Watts. And yes, whoever they say is running things isn't who's running things. Elections are fraud. Congress is the result of a computer file-up. The president is a poor excuse for a miscarriage. And yes, Nixon thought the American public children. Captain Kangaroo says our enemy is no longer Vietnamese pre-orphan sunspots. Our enemy this time around is Angola. Angola is our new enemy. Repent after me. Angola is my enemy. Angola is my enemy. Angola is my itty meeny mighty mo. And yes, the closer they get to what we did to the Kennedys, the more we make up more fabrications to add to the smeared burnt ashes of the Kennedy name. And yeah, America is celebrating its 200th consecutive funeral. And yeah, Carlos Busano was in line when he said they can't silence me anymore. I'll tell the world what they have done to me. And Hendrix pegged the whole mess. After a while, your cheap talk don't even cause no pain, 'cause let your bullets fly like rain. And just as we provoked dissent in the 60s by using agent provocateurs in the campuses and in Black Panther headquarters, and just like we incite riots so that we can send in the National Guard, just like we stage hijackings to initiate screenings and photomicrofilm x-rays at airports to reduce the power of the 4th and 13th Amendment. Just last December, our top secret security agents of Thrush planted bombs at LaGuardia and didn't give a fuck who we killed, just so long as we could step up searches of all baggage and people in the same way that Ford or whomever we say our president is this week used squeaky Fromm as an excuse to upgrade handgun legislation and reduce the right to bear arms, and he who lives by the sword dies by the razor's edge. And yes, the CIA's Operation Chaos is still in effect, utilized playing dead routine. And yes, the plot thickens to the consistency of urban jello. And yes, our computers showed us that one of the best ways to initiate subcurrent or division in our country is to do it just like we did it in Ireland with the Roman Catholic Wars, run a Protestant Nixon against Irish Kennedy, and run a Irish, just run a mess is what they've done. They ran a mess. And this already, if you write the president of the CIA, Protestant Nixon, then they start to rip at the moral core of the already rent social fabric. And yeah, they can trace Watergate back to the Mayflower. And yes, Bukowski was right when he said that Nixon was a front for the highly advanced plastic surgery undergone escaped German war leader scientists who escaped to America at the end of World War, and implemented a military coup through the method of complete, subtle, subdued general takeover. And yeah, FBA drug squads work in collaboration with Coca-Cola, and dead man D.L. Lundy from Las Cruces, I believe, the narc from hell, and Coca-Cola provide interrogation rooms to recruit middlemen who are coerced to introduce agents of the FBI to heroin dealers via threats of loss of property, home, car, etc., and threaten Supreme Court pursuits, refuse all advances and pats on the back, pretending to be your friend, ignore the attack. It vanishes, as does Atlantis and makeup in the rain. And yes, Ram Dass was right when he said, I think the whole most obscene situation in the whole drug picture is the course, the heroin predicament, and the government's relation to that is really reprehensible. There's no doubt about that. that the apparent whitewashing of the heroin issue by the government, pushing it under and at the same time protesting loudly, is really incredible hypocrisy. The hue and cry that comes from the country losing its children to heroin, to the god heroin, will ultimately force the mafia back underground. I think because I see that as the ruling class in a way in the whole scene. And yeah, the CIA has Martian maps of Marina 7 outlined with burial plots via subplots hidden on huge atomic-proof 2-mile deep Appalachian Pentagon war rooms marked at ground level, danger radioactive tourist spot, do not feed the bears, Smokies out of town, put out your own forested ghettos. And yeah, my fucking sex life was great. Numerous affairs scattered over more well-oiled pants, always left on the right side of the bed. My fingers have succulently probed the lingering, smelling universe pussies of militant angels and Reverend Galley priestess, taking a long rest on their backs in the South Pacific. And I fucked death in the raw, had death give me scrumptious head, mild Indian garbed hotels across from leaps off the Golden Gate Bridge, and well succumbed and coming over and coming without any shy feelings or anything when my leaping lizard's waterhole is drank by thirsty gopi maidens starving for the asses to be held in hammer-like vices of impassioned, meticulous, unheralded desire begging on my doorstep while I go out to play hide and seek with a Vaseline appointment I made with a nurse whose doctor sits in on the proceedings. And yeah, California is guilty of the thin gauze veiling of the story of Carl Chessman, sentenced to death for a crime he did not commit in 47 as he swore up and down his innocence for alleged sex crimes. But always remember that the Moraes, the man that arrested him, J. Edgar, was sniffing bicycle seats and eyeballing nude Chinese waitresses with hidden cameras purchased from California's massage cocaine high-rise Joneses. And yeah, Bob Kaufman was right when he said, quote, Carl Chessman was an American buffalo, thundering across California's lying prairies, racked with poison, the arrows of authority, guarding the brilliant visions of millions of genocided red crazy horse people dead in the makeshift gas chambers of suppressed history. Carl Chessman was an American buffalo filled with glistening embryos, flying with Zulu kings to the bottomless pits of America's soul. Carl Chessman was an American buffalo, and our vomiting assassins killed him and destroyed themselves and their Republican Democratic haste to extinguish his running and to extinguish his burning. Your America is a tenant mother whose breast you have never sucked for all your mind lust, stained with your neutral presence and the holes that you call eyes. As you go endlessly pinstripe to wherever it is that you go, remember, I have never refused you my own humaneness, though yours are but nervous bites, for which I was in your perverse death. For you have allowed me to taste my blood, red with my own hot living, and it cooled my soul, and I leave my own sawdust within. For who would bite the dead, not even a know-nothing intellectual, happy enough to point with laughing fingers at millions of posted Sams in fake star suits and shout, I want you, while dancing on exotic beds. End of transmission. No additional data. And Kaufman astral traveled to the deathbed of one of the few reclusive millionaires locked away in the psychedelic bowels of his high-rise mansion, overheard the inane babblings of his innermost desires. What follows is Kaufman's transcriptions of what he overheard. Shaggy-mouthed, useful gangsters hunting the human dog with stilettos of fear and dreams of money, sex, money, cars, money, suits, money, muscles, money, houses, money, hair, money, pearly teeth, money, pointed shoes, money, hats, money, brains, money, hate, love, twisted into pimp patterns of money success, crashed by Monet, gnarled hands of lanky editorial writers, false teeth, credit, dentists, cheap meat, queer butchers, hollow-chested bus drivers, eyeshadow sales girls, all-American football businessmen, hollow-thigh supermarket clerks, money flag makers, money mountain movers, money car makers, money-eyed raw material citizens, pulp of money landscapes of holy tide, musical voices of tiny citizens, pulped of money landscapes of holy time, musical voices of tiny money children, still heard in dynastic ears of domestic fear and free terror, unquote. Never again will I see these materialistic, money-conscious views of this so-called reality of this dog-eat-dog competition, fighting, thought, robbing, hurry, worry, roll, desolate, pollution-bearing, stab-eyed people of a nowhere land going nowhere but in a circle of endless ebb and flow with blood-curdling killings, non-open people basing their lives on oppressive wantings and cravings for and of, delirious wants and needs unfurnished. Man, you call yourself man, saving for rainy days with cans of mason storage, genocide banks and fluid fire tanks, covering the earth from which you arose with asphalt, and locking yourself in walls of paper hangers and revolutionaries screaming for freedom with fist upraised, fighting symbols going from flower power to flame, from free love to rape, from space conquest and walled spacecraft to ashes and Kremlin walls. Condemn the crumbling cornflake world, devouring itself and its loved ones, was reason enough for this group of artists to undertake the biblical creed. Be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Thus, their sincere, utter rejection of contemporary society, a society that Kaufman calls pretty bottled up. Society is like a fly ball that nobody ever caught. It just keeps traveling and traveling, and you have to stay with it, unquote. A wise woman told me something similar. Western civilization is like a man stranded on an ice floe. Only the ice floe is, not only is the ice floe going out to sea, it is melting. Or as Kaufman says, and so, as quaint little old Western civilization sinks slowly in the West, we leave fun-loving California with all of its colorful death festivals and set sail for exotic Nebraska, carefree home of Gothic Isle, birthplace of the famous Indian bone sculptures, originators of the Custer open air head. Now, since it's already 1976, what was considered to be a beatnik thing to do, dropping out, not working 9 to 5, collecting unemployment, has become totally in vogue now. Now, since damn near the entire population is unemployed, with blacks in America up to 20% unemployed, with American white middle class laid off and laid back, with third world people everywhere lacking jobs due to the austere guidance of the U.S. 77 corporations, octopus arms encircling the planet, everyone is becoming an involuntary beatnik. With all the extra added time in everyone's hands, maybe the wheels of creativity may begin to weave with a fluid outpouring of alternative artistic creation and revise the spirit of the Renaissance, venturing into henceforth unexplored domains of inexplicable succulent field accurate portraits of the intricately delicate golden shaded visual effervescent plumages of the depths of the feeling of love. Or people often called him Orpheus, a reincarnation of Orpheus, who is the Grecian god of music and dance and poetry and love, says his wife Eileen. He turned everybody on to poetry and music and art. Musicians would write songs about Bob or to Bob, or they do sketches of his face, or were interviewing him. He was a literal turn-on of North Beach. And on the humorous side, from the tapes, the Blabbermouth Night at the Tape Place from April 15, 1957, the Coexistence Bagel Shop was our new product. If you are in need of work and want to make easy money, sell our diaphragms. But don't let me tell you, listen to the success story of one of our salesmen. Mark Green of Pueblo, Colorado writes, I work for the Safety First Diaphragm Company. I sell diaphragms to people with worn out diaphragms. If any of you have friends with whom you suspect to have worn out diaphragms, you don't want to have any accidents. So get in touch. Get in touch with me before it's too late. I'll make an appointment for a real on-the-spot live demonstration. I don't want any of my customers to buy my products until they see my product in action. No character references required. Our product comes in 3 different sizes: junior safety first, regular safety first, and finally, the boy you better be damn careful safety first diaphragm. Our products are fully guaranteed, and any dissatisfied customer will receive double their money back 9 months from the date of sale. Now, in this jet age, we offer the Coexistence diaphragm made from 100% whole wheat bagel. The reason this is a great improvement, not only does the diaphragm feed the whole, it feeds the soul as well, and besides, you can eat it afterwards. Now, it's approved by Good Housekeeping, and we will install the new diaphragm on the spot and test it immediately. Dozens of satisfied customers, all clients held in confidence. Sincerely, Mark Green, salesman, North Coexistence Diaphragm Corporation. Excerpt, Blabbermouth Night at the Place. More of that later. And The American Myth by Allen Ginsberg. The American myth is cultivated is competition and rivalry. Competition and rivalry are the general myths of the American conspicuous consumption capitalistic economic cancer that dominates everyone's consciousness. So the psychology of that is competition and rivalry. Getting number one. I'll get mine, Jack, and a desensitization to the sufferings of others that we ourselves cause in the process of getting ours and being number one. So that's the psychosis of America. Or as I say, defect from the suburbs. On the Dobie Gillis show, Maynard G. Krebs decreed work. No, man, that gig has the wool pulled over everybody's eyes, thinking you got to work to live while the life you live diminishes with every hour that you punch in. And the routine is monotonous gray Midwestern skies, skimming by in life in drastic comparison to world-traveling bosses parading in Mercedes-Benz and cashmere brains and mink-carpeted armpits and golden-capped El Sickle smiles, front-page stealing prima donnas on a National Enquirer, blaring forth fabulous hi-fis, singing Eisenhower secrets, bemoaning caustic relationships with communists on the run. I might as well pawn my body, give my soul to the goodwill, marry a cowgirl from Oklahoma, feed my son Gerbers, can't wait for those 2 weeks of paid holiday in July, corral on down to those suntan, sunlit orange Florida beaches, self-immersed and buried beneath gel foamy copper-toned dreams of fuel line-driven husbands dropping anchor in their Vaseline vaginas all fresh and rosy from the Harlot factory on 5th and Broadway in Upper Manhattan, full of uncreative gurglings, shouting pre-rehearsed speeches at Kiwanis clubs, inefficient efficiency experts. Virtually all jobs are geared to suppress the vital instinct of self-creation for an all-encompassing bond docility of obeying only the boss's commands, as slavery is reintroduced into Western culture with token funds disguising the true slave nature of the work, kind of work that is the bubonic cancer of the English Empire, kind of work that impales the soul of Jesuit crosses, redundantly performing accurate civilized gestures of macho strength, 8 daily hours of suppressed sexual instinct on fully clothed, abundantly overflowing secretaries whose cups runneth over, scattered souls on barbaric human seas that scream in endless excursions through the Disneylands of our misguided hearts, as spewed brewed Budweiser hats descend on the table of misplaced American kitchens, huddled in silent prayers to dead Presbyterian gods, making offerings to teenagers doing Brill Cream, a little dab of do-you imitations of well-oiled American barbarians, caboosed the veins of seething love of arpege, and driftful with smells bathing. Or, from Bob Kaufman's Abominus Manifesto, quote, Abominus join nothing but their hands or legs are the same. In times of national peril, abominus as reality Americans stand ready to drink themselves to death for their country. Abominists do not use the word square except when talking to squares. Abominists do not write for money. They write the money itself. Abominists believe only what they dream, only after it comes true. Abominists reject everything except snowmen. All right, end of page 15. So that's page 6 to 15. More coming.